Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk here in the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel. Jauan Jennings is not happy with his contract situation with the 49ers, wants a new contract, or he wants traded. Yeah, it sounds really familiar. Maybe the Steelers shouldn't go down the road of negotiating with John Lynch and trying to trade for one of their receivers. We saw how that went down with Brandon Ayuk last year, but if things go sour, and this is one of the options for the Steelers, let's take a look at some of the film and see if it's worth it. Really quick, some of the stats or some of the traits about him. 6'3", 212 pounds, a big-bodied receiver. Was a 7th-round pick out of Tennessee. This is a great find in the draft with what he's turned into. Last season, he caught 77 passes for 975 yards and 6 touchdowns. When you consider, obviously, everything the 49ers went through last year with Brandon Ayuk going down with the knee injury, he obviously became a more prominent part. He had never had more than 60 targets in a season, almost doubled that last year with 111 targets. PFF gave him really, really high marks for his season. They gave him an 83.1 overall offensive grade, an 83.7 receiving grade. If you take any, I always take PFF's grades with a grain of salt. Sometimes it's at least a good barometer to at least go look and see what else there is in terms of the actual objective stats, not subjective, but objective stats. But one of the other things to note here, especially for the Steelers looking to a receiver that could be the WR2 that's been talked about so much that the Steelers need, is that according to PFF, Jennings lined up wide 268 times as opposed to 191 times in the slot. And in his 3 previous seasons, he had lined up in the slot more often than he did out wide. Now that makes a lot of sense. Having Deebo Samuel, having Brandon Ayuk, he's going to be down the totem pole. But last year, definitely he went from, again, the highest he had ever lined up outside in terms of rate was 45.8%. Last year, that jumped to 58.4% lining up out wide and maintained an average depth of target of 10.5 yards. So let's take a look at some of the things that I noticed while watching some of the film on him. If you are going to be a WR2, and I understand that Jennings here is in the slot, but we're not looking for traits of, what a slot receiver does. We're looking for what a receiver can do in terms of winning against coverage. And here, he's just running this quick little curl. This is a 3rd and 11, by the way. And so this play right here goes to show ways that he can create some space for himself on these kind of quick game type routes, which is going to be very important for playing with Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have to be able to operate out of the quick game. So when you run these quick little hitches, you got to make sure that you create enough separation, but also can you also make catches whenever you have a dude right on your back. Here, you can not only see the way he's able to stop and create separation. That's already good separation right there on this type of a route. The ball's out on time, which is very important. Rodgers will get this out on time, operating out of the quick game. The ball starts to get thrown right there. Good anticipation from Purdy. He's not even out of his break yet. So, again, anticipation's very important here. Rodgers will absolutely do this stuff in quick game type stuff. Ball's out. He catches it, secures it. But notice that the line of scrimmage is here at the 10-yard line. And he catches it at the 13, and the way he fights through this, 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys on him, and he's still able to muscle his way forward and get beyond the first down marker. This is where strength and the big body help take over. That's a really, really awesome thing to see from Jennings here. We're going to see, again, balls caught there. Got a dude, and there was definitely good enough separation to make the catch, but also to, be able to turn upfield. And the one thing that I did see with Jennings quite a bit is that when he had these type of routes, if he was able to catch it and then turn up field and even take a step forward, he was going to always gain more yards. Now, the more separation he had, the more momentum he could get going forward, the more yards he'd get. He could either do it through running guys over and falling forward while being tackled, or he's athletic enough and agile enough to put a foot in the ground, make a juke, just do different things to make guys miss as well. And he did some pretty good stuff after the catch. His yards after catch per reception last year was only 3.1, which, I mean, that's the lowest of his career. However, just because, again, this is where you can look at the stats and be like, oh, yeah, well, he wasn't good after the catch last year. It also matters what type of routes he's running. If he's running these type of hitches and making catches, you're not going to get a lot of yards after catch. But when he had time and space, he could absolutely create for himself. And that's a good thing to have. And the thing is that he doesn't have to create for himself as the X receiver, the number one guy. Being the number two, he can do this, and it's important. But again, when you have this ability to shrug off one guy, second guy comes in over the top, and at this point, three guys are in contact with him, and then a fourth guy comes in. He's got literally four guys on him, and he gets past the marker. That's strength, that's big body, that's a will to win, and a great job there by Jennings. Jennings here, what's going on with my iPad? There we go. Right there, lining up behind in the stack. What he is going to do is he's going to run this quick little slant right here, and notice that, this corner, this is the guy covering him. He's got to get inside of him, and anybody who's watched me do these type of receiver videos before, I stress heavily how much leverage matters, and how receivers either have to manipulate or win against leverage in order to be able to consistently gain separation, which makes things easier for the quarterback. And here, what he does is he takes the outside stem before he then cuts inside. And the great thing, you would think, oh, well, he's just allowing this corner right here to gain more leverage. But what he does is he helps kind of sell that he's going to the outside and he possibly doing a quick out, which we've seen, which he did quite a bit in the 49ers offense last year, or possibly running this kind of little stick or something. But he kind of runs this kind of stutter steps and then goes to the inside. And the foot in the ground and going right there, it's a great move to get to the inside. And this, again, is what matters when you talk about a guy who can line up on the outside and win against man coverage. This is the kind of stuff you want to see. You want to be able to see him do this on a consistent basis. And he gets great separation there. Just terrible coverage, by the way. Just not great coverage, but also a really nice route from Jennings at the same time. Gets open, and then again, whenever he has time and space, he could do things after the catch. And here, gets there, dives into the end zone, scores a touchdown. Great stuff from Jennings. Couple of things going forward for the next two clips. If you're going to play in the Arthur Smith offense, if you're going to be a wide receiver 2 in the Arthur Smith offense, it really, really helps. It's almost a requirement that you have to be able to block in the run game. And in order to be an effective blocker, you have to be a willing blocker. You have to seek contact. Jennings does not shy away from that whatsoever. And this probably personifies it more. There were some clips from previous seasons where he was probably being used in that role a little bit more often. Obviously, he wasn't as featured in the passing game. But this right here, and Jennings is right here, just barely off the screen. But he comes onto the screen here, and he's just engaging with Arnold. And in case the running back, bounces to the outside, that needs to be open. And Jennings, that means he's got to take this guy out, which not only does he seeks the contact. That's a good, effective block against a defensive back. But then I think the way Rob Gronkowski put it, because this clip went pretty viral for a while, I think the way Rob Gronkowski put it was he threw him out of the club. And yeah. And now, granted, you'd like to see that be the end of the play, not to see this fight that ensues, and then you have offsetting penalties. I'm going to go ahead and quote Mike Tomlin here. He'd rather say whoa than sick him. This is a perfect example of that. He'd rather tell him, hey, whoa, than tell him, hey, for this play here, I really need you to throw Arnold out of the club. Like, I need you to put him out of the back of the end zone. I need you to seek contact, be a willing blocker. Not only is he a willing blocker, but he has the size and the strength to do this kind of stuff to defensive backs. He has thrown many, many good blocks in the 49ers run game. And the fact that he's coming from a Kyle Shanahan coached offense for Arthur, and if the Steelers were to acquire him, again, this is all from the perspective of the Steelers have not acquired Jennings, but how would it fit? Can he participate as a blocker in the run game? Absolutely. Actually might be one of the best options that are possibly out there when it comes to either trading for a player or signing a player, which there are only a few more options out there in terms of signing. And Jennings just recently emerged as a potential trade candidate if that ends up happening. Either way, we'll go on to the next play here. So whenever I talked about being a good route runner, creating space, I have given a lot of credit to Calvin Austin for his growth as a route runner. So the question from that point begs, like, well, why wouldn't Calvin Austin be a legitimate WR2 option? Well, size is a part of it. He is, when you're talking about Jauan Jennings versus Calvin Austin, you're talking about nearly polar opposites in terms of size. But it's also the ability to make contested catches on a frequent basis. And I have this pulled up here. According to PFF, Jauan Jennings caught, what was it? You got it right here. 62.5% of contested catches. Now, Calvin Austin caught 63.6%. So actually a better contested catch rate. So again, you're like, well, I don't see the difference here. The difference is Calvin Austin had 11 opportunities to make a contested catch and caught 7 of them. Jennings had 32, nearly 3 times the amount. And part of that is the way the Steelers used Austin, but we also saw some of the times that Austin would line up outside and have those contested catches or have catches in which he would take on contact right away, and he suffered a couple of, minor injuries because of it. You don't have to worry about that as much with Jennings, and that's the reason why. And so when you look at this contested catch rate, which, by the way, 62.5%, was tied for 13th among all receivers that had at least 50 targets last year. That's really good. That's near the top of the league. There are literally only 12 receivers, and some of the best receivers in the game. A.J. Brown's not above that. I don't see Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or any of these guys above that. These guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown is above that, but he's also probably one of the 3 best receivers in the league. But here, by the way, this Rams game, Jennings went off in this Rams game. This was a career day for Jennings. He caught 11 passes for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Literally half the touchdowns he caught this last season were in this game. Ridiculous game for him. And this catch was one of them. Jennings is right here, and he's just running this really deep cross to this side. And, Purdy gets out of the pocket. He sees Jennings. He makes the throw here. This is covered very, very well. There's nothing really that Jennings can do about this. This is Purdy putting it up and saying, all right, Jennings, make a play. And I really wish that the NFL Pro had a different angle here. But this almost should be intercepted. And Jennings does reach over the defender and pull that in and make the catch somehow. If you want to look at a better angle of it, go watch the broadcast of it. It's on NFL.com. I'm sure it's on social media as well. The broadcast view is phenomenal. I can't show the broadcast view on here for copyright reasons, but that's a ridiculous catch by Jennings. And just one example, probably the best example, but just one example of him being able to use his size to his advantage. But also, this is not just boxing out a guy either. This isn't like boxing a guy out and using your big body to shield the defender away from catching the football. This is literally jumping over and taking the ball away from a defender. So this requires a high level of athleticism as well. So really good stuff from Jennings. And watching more of the tape, taking a closer look, man, when you talk about all the Steelers options out there potentially for WR2, and I understand that just because Jennings wants a new contract does not mean, wants a new contract or to be traded, does not mean he's going to be traded. We saw this play out with Brandon Ayuk last year. But if it ever develops, I mean, I'm recording this on July 17th. If this develops into something completely different in a couple of weeks, and the 49ers are like, yep, we are not going to ever find common ground on anything. We're trading him. This will be a heck of a get for the Steelers. And I think that, I think we floated this out there on the Southside Beat podcast yesterday. Like, would you give up a fourth? I would. I would give up a fourth to get this guy. Now you're going to have to negotiate a new contract because he's heading into the final year of his rookie deal. But, man. Or not the final year of his rookie deal. Final year just of his contract. He signed his rookie deal, obviously. So, because he's already played 4 years. But yeah, this is what a find. What a find for the 49ers 7th round. And that would be a great get for the Steelers if Jennings did become a legitimate trade option. So, I like what I saw on tape. Anyway, that'll be enough for this one. Catch you guys tomorrow here on Chalk Talk. We'll see you later.